Hey everybody, welcome back to When Creatives Thrive, a Create Baltimore podcast. I'm Stuart Rustin, and on this episode we feature Brian K. Oliver, a travel and city experience content creator who brings destinations to life through community, culture, and storytelling. Born on the west side of Baltimore, his love for travel began at a young age on local journeys with his grandfather, an ordained minister. Brian was captivated by seeing new places, meeting new people, and observing different cultures, all within driving distance. As he got older, his interest in travel continued to grow. He soon realized that outrageously expensive international travel is actually a myth. And today, with the help of a few travel hacks, he has been fortunate enough to visit nearly 60 countries. Brian uses his platform to be a source of inspiration, motivation, and encouragement. Because travel has been the best education he's received, it's Brian's mission to share lessons learned with others. Whether it's taking your first solo trip, exploring a city that you've never considered, or trying a new restaurant, Brian's goal is to convey to Baltimoreans and beyond that some of life's best moments begin when you step outside of what's familiar. While many use travel as an escape, Brian explores with Baltimore in his heart and always returns home grateful for his city. And before we get going, please remember to like, comment, follow, subscribe, anything that you can do to help us to continue telling creative stories. Brian, thank you so much for being on When Creatives Thrive. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So first, let's start with, when did you catch the travel bug? Has this been something you've been passionate about your whole life?
Yes, the travel bug has been there since I was a young kid. I would take road trips with my granddad. He's a minister, and we would travel by car up and down the East Coast. And I just remember being intrigued by meeting so many different people from different backgrounds and just seeing another city outside of my own. And the older I got, I remember taking the train and even the plane with my parents. And as time just went on, I started to travel a little more in high school, college with friends, and after college, still with friends, but also solo. And ever since then, it's just been nonstop.
Yeah, I listened to an interview recently where you described travel as the best form of education that you've had. What kind of lessons have you learned out there on the road that school really couldn't offer for you?
So I always say that the only thing you'll learn in school is what's printed in a textbook, I feel. Or maybe if your teacher or your professor has some sort of experience of their own that they can share with you. So I remember growing up seeing what the world looked like only from pictures in school. I mean, this is even before the internet was out there. So you only had a few photos here and there of what another city might have looked like, another country, especially landmarks. And I just remember feeling like, oh, this is something I'll see when I'm old and retired.
Right.
And so, time passed and you just read about different people, or this is the way life is here. I mean, even some of the, false information that's printed about places being poor or not very welcoming and not having a lot of resources. And then you actually take the trip to some of these places. Sometimes just because I caught a flight deal or something there. And then I get there and I'm like, wait a minute, this place is actually really, really cool. It's beautiful. The people are by far the most welcoming people I've ever met. There is poverty in different places. There are issues everywhere, just like we have issues here. And I feel like I've seen people overcome issues. I've gone places and taken some of what I've seen there back home and said, I think we can do this here to solve this issue or to solve that issue. So it's just been a constant lesson, no matter, how many times I go somewhere, even when I repeat destinations, it's always something new that I'm learning when I go, whether it's something about the cuisine, the politics. I mean, I went to school and majored in political science.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was still, kind of one-sided, everything that I learned. And to go other places and to see, why sometimes they have the beliefs that they do have, especially towards the West.
Yeah.
And, just to sit down sometimes over a meal or during a tour with a tour guide and a local resident. Just the stories have been amazing.
I think that in our education system, it's almost like the most efficient way to teach is to just condense things.
Right.
And you leave out so many of the details. But that's kind of at least been in my experience, sort of the magic of traveling is you get the smells, you get the tastes, you actually walk in a person's shoes, or down the same street as them. And that's when you maybe have sort of a better understanding of what they're going through.
Yeah, I mean, so many times when I've traveled, I've just sat down sometimes for hours and just people watched and listen to the noise around me and the
Yeah.
sounds. And by the time I'm done with that particular day, I have a whole different outlook on the destination or, the people in that place.
So what have been some of the most impactful trips that you've taken? Is there like a quote unquote best trip that you've ever had?
Ooh, I will say it's always been when I've traveled within Africa.
Really?
Yes. But each place has given me a different experience. I remember the first country that I traveled to in Africa was Egypt.
Mm.
And that's, not West Africa. So to go to Egypt and to see so much history, the pyramids, and to meet the people was an amazing experience. But it wasn't until I traveled to the West where I really felt at home. And it put everything into perspective. Growing up African American, we don't really know where we're from, but it was like my body knew I was home. The people would say, "Welcome home."
Really?
I noticed that, we had some of the same mannerisms. We seemed to walk the same way, dance the same way.
Really?
So it was then when I realized, we're not as far removed as we've been taught
Yeah.
all the time. And so it just did something to me. The first time I went to Ghana and I got off the plane, it's like instant sense of calm and peace.
Really?
Yeah. And just traveling along the west coast of Africa has always just been, I don't know, a vibe. I'll go and not want to come home. So, I mean, it's always been impactful.
I'm always reminded of that terrible, like Southwest Airlines, like want to get away
Right.
advertisement. And that for a lot of people, I think travel ends up being some form of escapism. Like, I'm so burnt out at work. The only thing keeping me going is knowing that I've got tickets to XYZ place coming up. But it sounds like travel for you has maybe shifted from want to get away to these kind of experiences where you're like, oh, actually, I feel like I'm at home, that there's like more meaning possibly to some of the travel that's happened to you.
Yeah, a ton of meaning behind it. And I always also let people know that despite traveling so much, I've been to over 60 countries now.
Oh my God.
It always made me appreciate home more.
How so?
I've seen so many different things throughout my years of travel that reminded me of Baltimore. And then I can remember I was just telling this story the other day, being in like Australia, and I sat down one day, and I believe it was Darling Harbor, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, this just feels like home a little bit too much. And mind you, I'm in Australia, but I sat there and I Googled it, and I think it was like some of the same designers who designed that
No
area
way.
designed Harbor Place, and it just I was like, I knew it, you know. And we do come from a city where people like to complain a lot about the lack of resources or some of the issues that we have.
Mm.
And I've gone so many places who have a lot less, but to see how much they appreciate what they do have and they make the most of it
Mm.
makes you come back and you're like, you know what? All the complaints you hear or the things you see written about our city that people will take and run with it, it's not half bad. It's not as bad as they make it out to be.
It seems like that's a through line in a lot of the content that I see you posting or the kinds of conversations that you're involved with. Like, is that an important part of your mission to create content and spread a message?
It is. And no matter where I am, I'm always going to make sure I have something on that's going to be like Baltimore, might be an Orioles hat or
Really?
Ravens hat, something that just has the city's name on it.
Yeah.
And it's always funny. I mean, it's the same thing you're going to get from the majority of the places that I go. They're going to immediately think of The Wire
Yeah.
because, it is a popular show. A lot of times they'll ask me, is it really like that? But then there's, this love for the city in a lot of places because of our sports.
Yeah.
And then just the culture. I mean, now people are sending me videos like daily, whether it's some video that's gone viral about the accent or, the music. Hey, do
Yeah.
you know this dance? Like, or, food is definitely something that the city is exploding in popularity
Yeah.
through social media. So it's like every other day someone is sending me a video. Oh, I need to go here the next time I visit. Or have you been there? Have you tried this? So I think, the impact that we're making on the world right now is constantly growing, like every day. And
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where it goes. And then even when I travel, it's so easy for someone when they ask you like where you from
Mm.
and you say like, the US, and then they ask, well, we're in the US. It's so easy a lot of times to just give them the basic answer and say like New York or something because they'll recognize that place. But I'm always gonna say like, I'm from Baltimore. Then if they don't know where it is, like by the time we finish talking, they'll know a little bit more about it.
Yeah. What are the sort of things that you want a person in like Australia when you're hanging out, like you said, what would you want them to know about how we do things back here?
I mean, I always talk about how real Baltimore is.
Oh,
It's
really?
super authentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've had friends who visited for a weekend, and then when they leave, they don't really mention like a specific place that we visited, or like not even sometimes. I mean, the majority of the time they'll mention a restaurant or like
Yeah.
some type of dish that they had, but they're always asking me about like a person,
Mm.
and so they're like, "Hey, how is that?" Bartender doing, or how is so and so doing? Because I think the people are what makes the city what it is. And, we may not have these super popular skyscrapers to go visit when you visit the city. But the people will definitely give you something to remember.
I think it's so much more authentic when you're characterizing a place by its people instead of just boiling it down to a landmark. Like it kind of reminds me of what we were talking about earlier, where like you read in a history book and you boil down a place to the Eiffel Tower and
Yeah.
baguettes and whatever. When you're thinking about Paris, like, is it you're just boiling it down to like crabs and the ravens when you're thinking about Baltimore? Like that's the easy route, but the more kind of authentic route is to actually meet some of these people and take home some of those experiences. I think it's probably like it's a better representation of who we are.
Yeah. And I noticed that 90% of the videos online that are super, popular or viral about Baltimore are showing its people, like
Yeah,
the culture.
yeah,
And I mean, whether it's the events that we have, or if someone visits and they're sitting down talking to small business owners, or, just a resident that they happen to come across, those are the stories that people want to hear. And I'm happy to see that they're being told more and shown.
What do you think are some of the best travel hacks that you've learned throughout the years?
I do not necessarily chase a destination. I'll chase a flight deal.
Really?
So I've gone I've gone to Africa for less than $500 before.
No way.
I've gone to South America for less than $200. It doesn't happen as often as it used to because there were some times when airlines would make like mistakes on the website, and there'll be like this crazy deal up and we just see it, and before we even thought about, you know, well, where are we gonna stay or what are we gonna do? We just book the flight.
Yeah.
And so that's been like the biggest key to me traveling to so many places. I would just say, wait a minute, it's like $200. Oh yeah, I'm going. And I just book the deal and think about everything else later.
That's wild. But what does it say about you that it's not about the destination and saying like, oh, I have this one spot in mind and I'm going to wait until the prices drop or whatever. It's more like I'm open. I'm
Yep.
open to whatever comes across my internet browser and I'm going to click on whatever's the most affordable because it means that I can go to more places down the road too. You're
Yeah.
just like down for the experience.
Down for the experience. And I personally feel like I can go anywhere and fit right in. I mean, strike up a conversation with somebody. And by the time that I've left the destination, I can pretty much tell other people what to do when they get there. Or, here's the driver that you need. Here's the
Yeah.
place you need to stay. You don't necessarily need to go and stay at this chain hotel.
Yeah.
Here's that, you know, B&B that's owned by a husband and a wife that you need to, check out when you get there because they're going to look out for you.
Oh,
So
yeah.
those are like the experiences that I love. And it's those stories. I mean, I'll leave a place and years down the line, I'll get that WhatsApp message
Yeah.
checking on me. And they're
Oh,
like, when
that's
you
nice.
coming back? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
you know what? I do want to go back. It was like a random trip, but I would love to come back and visit.
What are your tricks to breaking the ice when you get to a new location and you don't know anybody and you're solo?
You know what? I just always tell people that no matter where you go in the world, we're much more alike than we're different.
Mm.
So I think a person will just see you, and there's just curiosity there when they're just like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, since you asked, I don't know what I'm doing here, but like, I don't know. I saw this deal to come visit you, and a
Yeah.
lot of times, I think you get the same thing here. We do often find, locals asking a visitor like, "Well, what brought you to Baltimore?"
Right.
And the reasons are like, enough to keep a conversation going forever.
That's true. Like, it doesn't have to start out with some profound whatever. It's like, hey, I got a travel deal and I'm here. Like, let's chat.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as that. This is going to maybe seem a little bit sappy, but I think travel, to me personally, we've talked about like how, you're literally crossing oceans, you're making those connections. Like, do you kind of feel like travel is like a form of medicine almost?
Oh, absolutely. I personally tell people all the time, I'm on like long haul flights often, and I'll have noise canceling headphones on, but I'm not listening to anything. Like, I'm not looking at the movie on the plane. I'm not listening to any music. I'm just kind of zoning out at the moment because it's like, hey, here's some quiet time. I can't get up and go anywhere. I'm on this flight. So let me decompress for a moment, do some brainstorming. I always say that my brightest ideas come to me while I'm on the plane
Really?
because it's quiet. If I am alone, I'm not really, sitting there talking to anybody next to me. So I'm just thinking. And I feel like that's when that creativity gets like on 1,000. Stuff just starts coming.
Really?
I mean, years ago when I started my blog and came up with the name Beyond Be More,
Yeah.
it was on a plane. And it just came to me and I was like, that's the name. Like, this is what we're going to go with.
I wanted to chat a little bit more about Beyond Be More. I'm wondering if you can give me your 2 cents. Like, what does it mean to be an influencer? Like, is that the right word for it? Because it doesn't seem to me like you're necessarily looking to kind of influence people.
Yeah, I actually have a big issue with that word. I mean, it's what we are used to using now to describe people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd rather be known as someone who can encourage somebody or like, teach you something
Yeah.
rather than, be the quote unquote influencer as, we've come to know it. I think that the problem that we deal with a lot of times is that a lot of us who are creators are, placed in that category of being like an influencer
Yeah.
when we're really like a storyteller.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really trying to sell you anything.
Right.
I'm trying to encourage you to take this experience and come back better than you were before you went.
Words are definitely powerful, right?
Right.
Like, and I think in the same way, again, we were talking about just dumping all of, the info that you know about one particular place into a paragraph and not experiencing it. It's like kind of not doing ourselves a service by just saying like everybody on the internet who is on a platform is automatically an influencer. Like, yeah, maybe, like you said, educator is a better word, or, encourager is a better word. Like, I just think influencing kind of just sounds like sometimes a dirty word to me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think in your world, you're trying to give people a little snapshot of an experience, and then you're like, do with it what you will.
Right.
Not like, and because I told you this, now think or behave a certain way.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have visited a lot of destinations, especially domestic destinations,
Yeah.
which, can be work. Working with different tourism boards and
Yeah.
properties and everything. And I've, for plenty of these places that I visited, when I made the post encouraging people to go, the first thing they'll say is like, "What made you go there? Like, what is there to do?" And I'm like, "Well, actually, once you dive into this place, there's a lot to see and a lot to do. So don't just think I'm telling you to go here because they asked me to come out, they flew me there, or
Yeah.
things like that." I'm like, first of all, it's the people. I always say it. I'm like, it's the people who
Yeah.
make a destination. It is having those conversations. Every time I visit a destination or a different city and I'm sent to like a specific restaurant to check out, I don't just go and eat. I'm like, is the owner here? Where's the chef?
Oh,
So I can get that story and learn a little bit more about them, and it all comes together. Like,
yeah.
they're like, "Hey, this food is great." And then I find out, like, that this is a restaurant that's been around for generations because, someone in their family started it and it's just been passed down and passed down. By the time you leave, they're like, "Okay, so when you coming back?" 9 times out of 10, I'm like, "Stop sending me food because, you know, I'm stuffed now." But each plate has a different story.
Yeah.
Each drink has a different story behind it. So, yeah, I feel like you can go anywhere and make the most out of a place just by tapping into its people and its culture.
Yeah, for sure. I also wanted to talk about how we initially met because we worked together during Artscape and you were a part of promoting Beyond the Real and some of the other new programming that we had. And then I ran into you at Charm City
Charm City
Live.
Live, right?
And I know you're somebody who's normally at attendance in these kind of cultural events. And I'm just wondering what you feel like is the power or the importance behind these kinds of things that were, bringing communities together.
One of the things that I hear people say so often here is that there's nothing to do.
Mm.
And I'm always like, well, what are you looking at
Yeah.
that's not showing you that there's something to do?
Yeah.
And we live in a city where we're super fortunate to have a lot of events that are free,
Yeah.
where other places will charge you an arm and a leg to see some of these artists that, we love to hear on the radio.
Right.
Think about Artscape. I mean, there were some incredible people in these buildings that you see on TV
Right.
who are actors and actresses, designers and things like that, who, if you hadn't come to Artscape, you would never probably run into them and meet them and be able to get that up close and personal with them. Really great events are what's happening in Baltimore right now. And just to see so many people out and having a good time, like it's a really good feeling. It's a really good look. I mean, I can remember even leaving from one of the events during Artscape, and I see this golf cart coming up the street, and it's the mayor driving it. And I'm like, you're not going to find this in too many places.
Yeah.
Like just that realness.
Dude, I saw that picture that you got with him, and I think you guys are just high-fiving or something. There's like some really authentic moment that's literally one of my favorite pictures from like a treasure trove of content that we got. And I'm with you. Like there is like an accessibility
Right.
to leadership here that I feel like is different. Like you're not going to get it in like a New York or an LA. There's like a down home kind of feeling around here.
Absolutely.
So Brian, I saw on your social media that Google has named you one of their local insiders.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I still to this day don't have any real clue. I mean,
Really?
they gave me a little bit of insight.
Okay.
But
What
when I
even
first got
is
the
it?
email, I was just like, okay, is this spam? Because it was just like, and they were saying it's, the pilot program. So clearly it's something that no one had ever heard of
Okay,
before.
so it's new. It's part
new.
of it. Okay.
And when we finally had like the session, with the intro session, they, pretty much said that out of the US and Canada, they selected, they hand selected less than 150 creators.
Really?
But the way that they found us was, researching the specific cities that they have involved
Mm-hmm.
and whose content was showing up on Google,
Mm.
showing people what there was to see and do, what was coming up,
Yeah.
what had just happened. So it felt really good to be recognized in a space where you're used to people having like 1 million followers that are, recognized. So it did feel really, really good to say, hey, this is why I do this. I mean, it's all fun to go out and be recognized, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not just doing this for myself.
Yeah, I saw that you made a video and said that when you keep showing up, even when the likes and comments and shares don't add up, it's because somebody is watching. Where do you feel like you're getting that kind of can-do optimism from? Like, what are you drawing from in your life to just stay positive?
I just think it's a mentality that you have to continuously remind yourself to live with and live by.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so easy for people to have an idea in their mind of what they want to do, who they want to be.
Hmm.
And when they feel like they're not getting the recognition, they give up. And it's not until you sit down and you run into like that complete stranger who can tell you everything about yourself and everything that you've posted that has
Really?
inspired them. And you're like, oh, so somebody is watching.
Okay.
And I tell people all the time who I run into, I consider myself to have a decent platform and
Yeah.
following, but I mean, we have so many others in this city who have larger platforms and larger followings, but all of us have a different way of telling a story,
Hmm.
and we all have a different story. So when I run into people and they say like, I would just love to show more of my community or more of my life here, but I just don't think I can do it. I'm like, yes, you can, because somebody's going to want to hear your story and see things from your perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I love all things sports. You might not see me at a different event here that someone else can perfectly show and highlight online.
Yeah, I think it's also important to, like you're saying, try to separate yourself from the numbers, because if you feel passionately about what you're talking about, you're connecting with an audience. There'll always be somebody who's got one more follower than you, but I think that, like, if you look past that, there is not always a correlation between like the quality of
Right.
posts
Yeah.
and the amount of followers that somebody has. I feel like you've got to think a little bit harder. It seems like Google has done that. Like, they've looked past just judging people by numbers. Like, that seems kind of refreshing to me in a way.
It is. And as I said earlier, and I continuously tell people, it's the storytelling
Yeah.
about it. I mean, if someone can relate to you, they're gonna continue to follow you and keep up with what you have going on.
Yeah.
And just being authentic is where, you'll thrive nonstop.
Who do you feel like is your audience, really? Who is kind of your niche? If you felt like you've connected with a certain type of person, or are you kind of open?
I can never figure it out.
Really?
I mean, I run into people who are my parents' age, and I'm like, wait a minute, you follow me on
Really?
social media? And they're like, yeah, I saw that you just went here and you did this, you did that. I'm like, wait a minute, huh? And then, I run into a high schooler, and I'm like, wait, you know who I am? Like, I'm just like, so
Yeah.
you are watching, and just people from all different backgrounds. It's so cool to just run into people and to hear, something that you might have posted online is what inspired them to visit this place, or, just I was thinking about taking this trip there. I finally decided to do it. You told me to go here. I went. I met so and so. I mean, it is so funny. I'll get random calls on like social media from someone like, I just met somebody who knows you.
Really?
I'm on this resort or in this place. I'm like, that is cool, because it just shows you that somebody's watching.
Yeah, then that's great to remember
Yeah.
too. I wanted to finish up by asking one last simple question. I'm wondering, Brian, where are you headed next?
I think about that every day myself. I want to continue to tell these stories. That's the fun part. It's just telling the story. Maybe it's gonna be like long form content,
Really?
because I'll visit a destination and I'm just like, or I'll go to an event at home and I'm like, there's no way I can tell this story in 30 seconds.
It is
It's
really an art form.
hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, maybe it's not really letting it kind of breathe the way that it needs to. It's not giving it the full kind of scope that it deserves.
Because I even think back to those events like Artscape,
Yeah.
where I did talk to a lot of people who were, in attendance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, that story is never going to be told online because there wasn't enough time.
Right.
And I'm like, how can we put this into a documentary
Really?
to really let that story get out there and then let it stay out there? Because somebody's going to watch it.
That's
no matter
true.
how long it is. I'm always amazed to see hour-long YouTube videos and to see that the views are like insane. And I'm just like, wait a minute, people actually will sit down and listen to your story as long as it's something that they can relate to.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you say that, because I feel like sometimes we make those assumptions that no one has the attention span these days. Like nobody's willing to sit through more than 90 seconds or something. Like we put a cap on it. But that's so cool that you feel like you want to tell those longer form stories. And I think you're exactly right. Like people will watch if the quality of the storytelling is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Brian, again, thank you so much for being here. It has been awesome chatting with you. Can't wait to not just work with you again, but see you around.
Thanks for having me here. I'm looking forward to everything that's to come, 2026 and beyond.
Thanks so much to Brian for joining the podcast, and thanks to you for listening. Remember, if you are a creative person with a story to share, reach out to me at srustin@promotioninarts.org to be featured on the pod. And as always, when creatives thrive, we all rise.